Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're diving into a seriously fascinating playlist from Kayz-Worlds called My Vids. Now, on the surface, this might just look like a simple collection of concepts, but it's actually a super profound journey right into the human psyche. We're going to peel back the layers together, connect the dots, and really look at what this blueprint for psychological evolution is all about. Okay, let's jump right in by looking at this wild duality that pops up everywhere in this material. It's the classic clash. The polished, perfectly constructed persona we wear out in society versus the absolute chaos of our inner world. You know, the subconscious shadows, the deep-rooted trauma, that never-ending inner turmoil. This whole journey is literally built on the friction between those two realities. So, here is our roadmap for today. First, crafting the outer persona. Second, the internal battleground and shadow. Third, the onyx enigma. And finally, architecting your reality. Let's kick things off with Part 1, Crafting the Outer Persona, or the strategic presentation of the self. Our very first concept is the art of the entrance, and man, this reveals such a fascinating truth. Think about it. Simply walking into a room is almost never an accident. It's a totally designed presentation. When we step into a new social situation, we're not just, physically arriving. We are actively broadcasting signals. Whether it's a high-stakes corporate meeting or just a room full of strangers at a party, you're projecting this calculated, stylized identity. We're basically telling people exactly how to perceive us, what our status is, and what value we bring to the table. And that brings us to a pretty heavy question. When you make an entrance, are you actually expressing your authentic soul, or are you just deploying a rehearsed character built purely for external validation? Are you really being you, or just playing the role you think everyone in that room wants you to play? It really highlights the tension between being real and putting on a show. Eventually, that calculated entrance solidifies into something way more permanent, which leads us to the Athena brand. Named after the Greek goddess of wisdom and war, this brand is all about becoming completely untouchable. It's when you deploy this strategic armor as your permanent face to the world, so you always appear endlessly competent, fiercely independent, and just flawlessly intellectual. But here's where it gets interesting. A fortress is really only built to protect something incredibly fragile. So, what deep-seated vulnerabilities is your carefully constructed Athena brand actively fighting to conceal? What are you so terrified of letting other people see? Because that heavy armor is absolutely hiding something soft underneath. Eventually, that armor starts to get heavy. Which brings us to Part 2, the internal battleground and shadow, confronting those subconscious forces. This leads straight into the idea of the variable in the gilded cage. This concept perfectly captures that intense, suffocating claustrophobia of being trapped by your own success. You've built the Athena brand, you've mastered the art of the entrance, and hey, it worked. You've created a comfortable life. But human beings are dynamic variables. We grow, we evolve. And suddenly, that perfect, predictable structure you built, it starts to feel exactly like a rigid cage made of gold. So you really have to ask yourself, has your safety net actually become a psychological prison? Have the comforts and routines you worked so incredibly hard to build turned into a gilded cage? Are they stifling the wild, unpredictable, evolving variables of who you actually are? It's honestly terrifying to realize that your own success might be the exact thing holding you back. To break free, there has to be a major shift. We're moving from the gilded cage, which is all about stagnation, keeping up appearances, and focusing on the external, over to the path inward. And the path inward demands evolution, intense internal focus, and raw, unfiltered truth. Because let's face it, you can't stay comfortable in the cage and evolve at the same time. You have to make the hard choice to turn your gaze inward. And that choice brings us to the shadow, spirit, and the path inward. This is absolutely crucial for breaking out of that cage. You've got to stop staring at the shiny gold bars and finally look at the darkness inside the room. It's a deliberate and, usually painful journey to illuminate and integrate the darker, rejected parts of your mind, that shadow self you bury just to maintain your perfect outward brand. Which begs a really tough, intensely personal question. Are you brave enough to walk that lonely path inward and actually talk to the shadows you've spent your entire life outrunning? I mean, it is so much easier to just keep polishing the armor of the Athena brand than it is to sit quietly in the dark with your own insecurities, resentments, and fears. But fair warning, once you shine a light on that shadow, peace doesn't just magically happen. Actually, what Kayz-Worlds calls my official self-war kicks off right then and there. This is a fierce, chaotic clash inside you. It's your conscious ego the part of you that actually kind of likes the comfortable gilded cage, violently fighting against this newly awakened, demanding shadow self. Your mind literally becomes a battlefield, so you have to step back, look at this objectively, and ask, in the dramatic theater of your own mind, which version of yourself is currently winning the war for your future? Is it the conditioned, fearful self that's desperately clutching the armor? Or is it the authentic, integrated self fighting tooth and nail to break free? Out of the ashes of that war, we reach part 3, the Onyx Enigma. This is all about deconstructing deep-seated blockages. We arrive at a concept called deconstructing the onyx thorn. Think about getting a physical thorn stuck deep in your skin. If you leave it there, your body builds hard scar tissue all around it, right? Well, the mind does the exact same thing with trauma. The onyx thorn represents that hardened, crystallized psychological blockage. Deconstructing it takes methodical, analytical, and highly intentional emotional labor. It's the gritty, painful work of pulling out those deeply embedded spikes in your psyche. And we absolutely cannot move forward until we identify and dismantle these dense, dark thorns that are anchoring us down. So I challenge you right now, what is the sharpest, most painful onyx thorn currently embedded in your mind? And maybe more importantly, what exact psychological tools, habits, or support systems are you going to use to actively break it down? This deconstruction actually follows a really clear 3-step process. First, you have to identify the hidden onyx thorn. Second, you methodically deconstruct the trauma, effectively stripping away its emotional power. And third, and this is key, you don't just throw the pieces away. You integrate those remnants as something totally new. This process literally transforms your deepest pain into your greatest source of power. Which brings us beautifully to the Onyx Variable 1.0. This is such a massive conceptual leap. Once that thorn is broken down, those broken pieces are reformatted into a powerful new operating system for your identity. You are taking the remnants of your trauma and repurposing them into an upgraded foundational variable for your new self. The exact thing that used to hurt you, it becomes the code that makes you unbreakable. Just consider the immense power of consciously choosing the core variables that define you. If you were to completely reboot your identity today, right this second as version 1.0, what foundational variable would you rewrite to fundamentally change your destiny? You're no longer just reacting to the world, you are programming your reality. With those new variables locked in, we enter our final phase. Part 4, Architecting Your Reality, Becoming the Master Builder. The final piece of this puzzle synthesizes everything we've talked about into this idea of architecting reality. And the core message here is just profound. Reality is not something you passively inherit. It's a structure you actively architect once that internal war is won. We're proving that we are no longer victims of circumstance, we aren't trapped in a gilded cage anymore, and we definitely aren't hiding behind an Athena brand. We are the ultimate designers of our own existence. So I want to leave you with this final, provocative thought. You've examined your outer persona, you've survived the brutal internal battleground, and you've actually reprogrammed your Onyx variables. The blueprints are finally, firmly in your hands. Now that your internal cage is completely shattered and your shadows are integrated, what magnificent reality are you going to architect tomorrow?